So, hi, I'm Pam. I had the pleasure of being the artist in residency here at the Sheldon Jackson Museum. I was fortunate enough to teach a class on how to make little children's vests. I provided kits. It was really awesome. I had some pretty amazing students. So I was an artist in residence. So let me do my quick Tlingit introduction. Anyad Kusani, Tlingit Kainaksan Katayu Khat Duasak, Yesh Nahatsati, Shakansha Ayakhat, Kagwantan Dashkan Ayakhat, Kmetik Chan in Spanish, Dashkan Ayakhat, Kayish Kahit Dach Ayakhat, Chika Kwan Ayakhat, Gunilchish, Hawa, Doiksam Koyana. So let me translate that in English for you lovely folks. My Tlingit name is Sankta. My namesake is Sarah James. My English name is Pamela Johnson. I am a Shlokancha. I'm a woman of the Koho and Raven Koho. I am a child and grandchild of the Kagwantan through my father. And I am also a child and grandchild of the Khmer Chickasaw in Spanish through my mother. My clan house is the Kayish Kahit, which is the platform house, and our mother Koho clan house, which is based out of Sitka. And I thanked you in all 4 languages, which is Tlingit, Haida, Tsimshian, and Yupik, I believe. I always say Yupik wrong. I don't know. Sorry to my Yupik peoples. So I got to learn a lot. And I got to hold 200-year-old objects in my hands. It's literally holding history in my hands. It was phenomenal. It was beautiful. I loved it. It was a pleasure working with Sue and Robert and Jackie. And I'd like to also shout out to the friends of the Sheldon Jackson Museum. I hope I'm saying that right. For giving me this opportunity. Now, my specialty is regalia. I like to keep in contact with regalia. As you can see, my father is Tlingit, so kind of more in tune with my cousin, or my dad's side of the family, which is Tlingit. Is there any questions that anybody would like to ask me? Anything at all? Okay, then. So probably what started me on this quest of amazingness was I was in high school. I had 1 more credit to finish until I needed to graduate high school. I was Alaska Native Studies. And my teacher, Ryan Hill, was the one who was like, you need to do 1 big project and you'll get your credit, you'll graduate. So I decided to make a robe. It was my very first robe ever in the history of my life that I had ever made. And it was for my dad. Because my dad didn't have a button blanket, and I don't like to say blanket, let me just clarify that. I don't like to say blanket, I like to say robe. I believe when you say a button blanket, it's like something you sleep with. Obviously, this is not something that we sleep with and cuddle up with. It's a very important piece of material. So I was going to Pacific High School. They got me the fabric. I had to measure my dad. I didn't know what I was doing. And luckily, I was surrounded by some pretty awesome aunties. One of them was Carol Brees, God rest her soul. And I was like, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. And so she was one of my big inspirations. Another big person that really inspired me to kind of get on this path was my late cousin, Pamela Johnson. She just created these beautiful pieces of artwork, which just took your breath away. She was a true artist in form. Yes, I will share some of my artwork. Actually, I have my robe here that I very first did for my dad. So you guys will get to see that after. And Elmanda, she was true artist, and then my auntie Carol Breeze, just amazing artist. Marie Guthrie, she made me these beautiful pair of I call them ear loops, but we use them for our yukuwahangis. So they're these pieces of yarn that kind of hang down, and when you do a yukuwahangi or a spirit song, they'll sway, and it just looks amazing. She made me a pair of those, and I just fell in love. So, sorry, I kind of bounce everywhere. So, going back, I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't understand the significance of it and like the history behind it. She shared a little bit with me, and so making this amazing robe for my dad was a really big deal. And I spent many sleepless nights sewing. I had never sewn in my life. I did a little bit of beading, not very much. Um, and working with my auntie Carol Brace, she took a lot of time with me, patient with me, because I didn't know what I was doing. And in the long run, she taught me some tips and tricks that I carry with me to this day when doing artwork. So I can remember this. We were so close, and I was like so tired. I was working a full-time job. I was going to school. I was applying for scholarships and the whole nine. So I was like hardcore adulting in high school, getting ready for college. And I was getting tired and I was getting frustrated. And I live by this rule when I do my artwork. And Carol Breeze could see I was just getting frazzled. And I was stitching and stitching and stitching, and you can just see my stitching was just all over the place. It was horrible. And my Carol Breeze was like, "Okay, Pam, step away. Like, go take a break." And I was like, "I have to get this done." She was like, "Well, if you're frustrated and you're angry and you're anxious and overwhelmed, it's going to show in your artwork," which is true because it really did. You could, like I said, my stitching was just everywhere. It's horrible. And so I was like, okay, fine. She's like, wait, before you go, she's like, I'll take all this stitching out. Like my heart just dropped to the floor because I was like, felt like I put so much time and effort into this and I was already frazzled. So I was like, okay, you know what, whatever. So I got it out, took all the stitching out because it was just raggedy anyway. Looking at it now, I'm like, that was a good one. Good thing she told me to take that out. Took a break, took a second, just, debriefed a little bit, came back to it, worked on it more when I was like more calm and everything. And I was just like spiritually, physically, mentally ready to put all of my love and caring and like good vibes into it. And my stitching came out beautifully. I was so happy with it. And so that's kind of one of the big things that I carry with me. So doing this project with SJ was really awesome. And I have a PowerPoint and I'm not the most technical person, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Hopefully you ladies everybody will just bear with me, please. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Anything? Okay then. So I'm gonna see if Miss Sue or Robert could help me share my PowerPoint. I just gotta pull up my PowerPoint.
Is it up there already? Okay.
Yeah, it's here.
It's gotta go back to the Zoom and press share.
Okay. I think I want to start from the beginning.
Okay. Click on there. Go back to Zoom. And then click share screen. And then click on the first slide.
Okay. Share.
There you
go. Okay. So I don't know if everybody can see that. So cultural identity through fabric. Also doing this I kind of found that I needed to find my cultural identity. I feel like it's a really big thing to be culturally rooted and connected to your culture, and whether that's through song, through dance, through fabric. I chose fabric because I like to sew, kind of an old lady like that. So this first, you see this first page, that's my daughter, Kimura. That's my robe that I made her. She decided to be my model, so yay, Kimura.
Do you want that to be an actual slideshow?
Sure.
You just hit this forward button whenever you, here you go.
Okay. Okay.
Now you just hit the forward button when you want to go forward, or you hit the backward button to go backward.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. So, again, that's my daughter, Kimura. So what I'm going to talk about is the history of robes and the cultural identity through ceremonial robes and materials that we used to make these robes. I'm going to talk a little bit about Chilkat robes. I didn't get quite done with Raven's tail robes quite yet because I totally lost track of time. And again, button robes, I already kind of did that one in the first slide, and then my own personal making for regalia. So here we go, folks. And the inspiration and stuff is what I'll show you, not on the PowerPoint, because I didn't, yeah. Okay. So the history of our Tlingit robes. The meaning behind our Tlingit robe, our Tlingit button robes, keyword button robes. Never, please, I can only implore you, please try to refrain from using blankets. Again, we do not cuddle up with these. We do not sleep with them on a regular. The meaning behind the Tlingit button robes was to help identify which clan we belong to. Some clan crests can tell our clan history, such as which clan house we belong to, which we as Tlingit people display proudly on our robes. Some Tlingit clan crests can only be used by that clan member belonging to that clan house. So, for example, you will see on the right, that's my second daughter, Taya. And you will see that particular coal crest. That belongs to the Kaish Kahit, which is the platform house in their mother Cool clan house, which I belong to and my children belong to. Again, I didn't get to type this in there, but I kind of wanted to just talk about it, especially for my non-native friends or just people in general who don't quite have the concept of history behind our robes. It's really important, one, to ask to take a picture of these particular designs or crests because we hold them very dearly. Like I just explained, they belong to a certain clan house. So that is literally like our property. That's like saying, I go into your house and I'm like, well, I like this picture and I'm just gonna take it and not get permission. That's not okay. That's how we look at our robes and our crests and our atu. So I always do my best to kind of reiterate that, like, don't take a picture of it and kind of display it without going through the proper protocols, which is what we do have. We do have certain protocols that we have in order to kind of share things, because it's much of a colonial world, and sometimes I gotta share that with you guys. Another thing is, when I was teaching this class, I had some students who were non-native, and we had to talk about cultural appropriation, kind of like, okay, I made this vest that has an eagle on there, and so now I'm gonna give it to my child who may be non-native and be like, oh, now they're eagle. That's not how it works. I had to really explain that. When you make something, and it has a clan crest on there, whether it's eagle, wolf, raven, coho, duck ding dong, sea pigeon, frog, whatever. Any particular crest has a history. That is an identifier of that person's family and history. You just don't be so frugal with that. Does that make any sense? And don't take something that doesn't belong to you. That's the best way I can describe it. Is there any questions or comments, concerns? Anything? Okay, we're good. Next slideshow. So there's the different styles of Tlingit robes and materials used to make them. As you can see on the left side, this style of Tlingit robe is called the royalty robe. This robe was mainly used for the high caste members within our society or our clan. So we didn't have like a king and a queen. It wasn't European like that where we had like kings and queens and princesses and princes. No, we didn't have that. We had, which was high caste, which we had the clan leader, the clan mother, and their family. Now, we worked, the clan leader was like the spokesperson for the house. But they weren't like the king and queen. No, we don't do that. I just think that's kind of like a European title to put on there, like royalty robe. I like it. And one had to be a certain age to obtain this style of robe. So it was mainly used for like the higher caste members, and you couldn't just be like a child age, you had to be like a certain age. Again, I can't recall what age that is, unfortunately. But you know, through through time and through the years, all of us, you know, as Tlingit people, we kind of had to adapt. Some knowledge was lost, unfortunately. And so, for example, at Celebration, I saw that a child at the toddler regalia review had a royalty robe. Again, that's a little girl. Then again, it's you as Indigenous people, we kind of have to like learn to adapt to our surroundings, and sometimes our art adapts as well. And like I said, the good part about it is it kind of changes, it kind of levels up a little bit, but at the same time, like that cultural transmission in regalia in itself is a form of cultural transmission. Now, due to colonial contact, a lot of that was lost, unfortunately. So that's the unfortunate part. However, we're still here, so yay, resilient Indigenous people. Okay, so when the Tlingit people came into contact with the Russians, one of the items that the Russian people traded with us, the Tlingit people, was like wool fabric and like mother of pearl buttons and things like that. So, like I said, kind of using what we had and adapting, I guess, we made robes. That's from what I can gather. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Anybody?
So what did you trade? What did your people trade to receive the wool and the buttons?
Well, the Russians were really into like our otter, and we had gold, and we had copper, and we had just like an abundance of like natural resources. And so that's what we were able to trade with. Now, in my opinion, Russia apparently sold, you know, Alaska to the Americans. First off, Russia never had, you can't sell what you don't own. I'm throwing it out there. I'm sorry for my Russian people out there who may be Russian, but your ancestors got it wrong. You can't sell something that is already inhabited. You know what I mean? Not cool, but here we are. Is there any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, moving on. Okay, ceremonial uses. I'm not gonna lie, I love this photo of this young boy in a, you can see he has a button robe. He has cedar ropes. That is like a huge thing of like cedar and it's twined together. I love it. I too want to learn how to weave one day. Okay, so the ceremonial uses of the Tlingit regalia. Tlingit people wore button robes at payoff parties, or as we call them, huiks. Oh, I have no saliva in my mouth, so I sound like ridiculous. Or other important ceremonies, such as the raising of a totem pole, wedding, etc. Oh, two more people. Okay, two chats. You zoomed into is it so before pre-contact, so sorry, I have to like look at the zoom. Your zoom, your pic, and your pic in zoom is too much. Are you like my face or sorry? This is zoom in too much. People can't see it. Can you guys here, we have one right here. It says my picture is zoomed in too much, people can't see it. Sorry. What types of other resources were used before wool blankets and buttons for regalia? The PowerPoint. Okay, the PowerPoint is a little big. Whoops. Okay. Let me see if I can shrink it down a little bit. Uh-oh. Escape. I think it's escape. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I'm trying to fix the PowerPoint because the picture is, can you guys see it that well? Some people can't see it that well. The pictures in the PowerPoint. You can see, okay. Second question was, what were the resources, what types of other resources were used before wool blankets and buttons for regalia? Well, we had the cedar, so we made the chilkat robes. We had obviously our Sitka deer. We had hide, things like that. Yeah, that's what I can recall. Then again, I could be wrong. Okay. Did that answer your question by chance? Okay, so where was I? Can people still see that? Is that good? Okay. Sorry. Okay. So, ceremonial uses. Also, so I was talking about payoff parties or ku'iks, when a person of the opposite clan passes away. So for example, my dad's an eagle. If we lose somebody from the eagle clan, us as the ravens, we'll bring out our robes, our ooze, and that's to signify to like catching their tears and being like, hey, we're here to support you in your time of need, and vice versa. So if the ravens, we lost some, let's say for example, we lost a clan member, the eagles will bring out their robes, their atu, and that'll signify to, hey, we're catching your tears, we're here for you. So um, our culture is very much a reciprocal culture, and that's what I love. That's really love. We are a matriarchal tribe, which means, you know, we're not patriarchal, much like most of Europe. We like, you know, England, Europe, they follow their fathers, they're patriarchal. We as indigenous people, we follow our mother's line. So meaning if our mother is eagle, her children will be eagle. If and vice versa. If she is raven, for example, I'm raven, my daughters, I have 4, will all be raven. Does that make sense? That and so that is our birthright. That is our, and along with that birthright comes Tlingit names that we carry and clan crests. So this is our identity, and that's why it's very important for non-natives to understand that and how much we hold on to that, because that's cultural knowledge. That's a way of our cultural transmission being transmitted. Does anybody have any questions, comments, anything? All right, all right. Next. Now, I don't have a lot of, I have personally not done this. I have not made a chilkat robe. It is something I do have on my to-do list. I do want to make a chilkat robe for myself because, you know, eventually I'm gonna, you know, not have any kids in the house, and why not learn something new? So chilkat robes. I just love this picture, by the way. It came from the Sheldon Jackson Alaska State Museum archives. So it's super amazing. I love these 2 women. So these are 2 women. They don't know, I think it's unidentifiable 2 women in chilkat robes. And chilkat robes were created by the weavers of the Northwest Coast. These beautiful chilkat robes were worn by the wealthiest of the Tlingit nobles. The first woven robe was known, I can't pronounce that because my Tlingit is super rusty. We're not there yet again. But ultimately, what it is translates to is worked together blanket. So these, oh goodness, touch. Oh, thank you. I was not aware of that. So I apologize, folks. Just gonna see if we can fix our, like, I don't know, is that better for everybody? Can we see the photos? Again, I am so sorry. I'm not a technical person. 1, 2, this is my first time working with Zoom. Well, actually, it's my second time. The first time I was just teaching a class, so it was easy. Okay, we're gonna go like this. Oops, but we do, oh, we're doing 100, Pam. Okay, better. Now, use the keyboard arrow to move to the next picture. Oh, I wish I was in person. This is so much easier. Okay, why am I not letting me type? Okay. Why is my keyboard not working? Okay, so can everybody see that? Is that okay? Are we good? Get a thumbs up. Hoorah.
It's okay, but if you make it smaller, then we can see the title.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's just.
When you make it bigger, we can see the picture. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, is this good for everybody? Okay, so the history of chokat robes and the materials used to make them. Again, when you're making a chokat robe, these materials would be used. One, you would have to have a loom, as you can see this lovely lady has. A wool from a mountain goat. I don't even, that's a lot. Okay, going up, hunting up mountain goats, i.e. mountain goats. I'm too scared of heights, so shout out to the hunters. And we would use the inner bark of a yellow cedar, or a red cedar can be substituted if there's no yellow cedar. The sinew of a caribou or a whale, an animal. Now, I'm no weaver. I just got these from the books, books here at Sheldon Jackson. Tlingit women use their own patterns and use their own sense of balance and their own creative design, and they put that into the chokat robe. These patterns were composed of the inner, I can't pronounce that word, motif, motif. However, as time went on, the inclusion of the Tlingit form line was then introduced into the chokat robes. And also, for example, like I wanted to pick up weaving a chokat robe and raven's tail. And a fellow weaver of mine, Shadu Clara, she's from Yaktat. I was super pregnant with my daughter Taya, and I said, hey, I'd really like to take up a weaving class. And she said, no, wait till you're done being pregnant. And I was like, well, why? Because it is taught that when women are pregnant, they're already weaving life. So we're already weaving life within ourselves, and we didn't want to overstress or overdo our bodies in spirituality. So, side note there, friends. Any other questions or comments, concerns, anything? Nope. Okay. We're gonna keep going. Now, I really love this one. I really love this one. So this is Terry Rothgard. She was phenomenally amazing. I cannot emphasize how cool she was. So amazing. She was one of my top favorite artists. Seeing her work and stuff like that really inspired me to want to learn how to do raven's tail weaving. She's just amazing. Oh, what happened here? Okay. So let me just, I can't read my own. Okay, so here we go. As raven's tail originated in the same place as the chokat robe, chokat making. These styles of Tlingit robes was birthed in the northwest coast of North America. These robes, as well as chokat, were reserved for the wealthiest of the Tlingit noble class. So these robes, because if you look at them and if you see these wonderful women creating these robes, it takes a lot of time. Not to say that, button robes are any less any type of artwork you're going to create is, and especially a big project, is going to take a long time. So, and then understanding that we don't, you know, we didn't have factories where we can just go get wool, you know, how you can kind of order wool online. Um, Back in those days, you know, you had to go and gather them. And still to this day, you still kind of have to gather, like you have to go outside and gather cedar, gather red cedar, yellow cedar, you know, the process of that is a lot. So, you know, of course, if you're a higher caste, then yeah, the perks of it, right? But also these robes tell a story and they hold history, and so that's super important to us. And there's so many designs, I just couldn't all put them in this PowerPoint. And yeah, it's just a lot. I can't really give a lot of information, and I can't tell you a lot because I don't have enough. I personally haven't done Raven's Tail or Chilcat. It is on my to-do list. I lean more toward Tlingit robes and things like that. So does anybody have any questions or comments, concerns, anything? Nope. Okay, so if you would like, we can, I can show you my very first robe that I've ever done, and I have to say I'm pretty proud of myself. And thank you, my Auntie Carol Breeze, God rest her soul, because she helped me with it. If you want to hold real quick, I'm just going to get some help because it's kind of a big one. So. Hello, hi, everybody. So it takes, my dad's a kind of a big dude.
Take it off share.
Oh, take it off share? Oh, yeah. How do I do that again? You're gonna go to right here, right? Yeah. And then just, where? Screen? Oh, stop share. Okay, there we go. So, hi folks, sorry. Zoom, it's gonna curse. Okay, so this is my very first robe ever. My dad is like 6 foot, so it takes two of us to hold his robe up. So anytime I do regalia making or I make something, I always like to have a meaning and a story behind it. So this is my dad's robe. There's over 200 buttons on here. Granted, I had to work with what I had. And this clasp right here was beaded by my cousin Patricia Johnson. And like I said, both my grandparents were Kagwantan. So I measured these eagle heads out precisely so when like I said, when my dad danced, he would carry his parents on his shoulders. And he comes from the box house. And so they use the panting wolf. And so you can see his wolf go right here. And you can see his tongue sticking out and he's panting. So this is my very first robe I've ever done. It was a lot of work, sleepless nights. And so this was made out of love. This was made out of, love and respect for my dad. And if you look, I'll bring this closer. You can see that we did what's called this invisible stitch. Now, this, you can't really see the stitch because it's invisible, right? And as you can see on the inside, we hand stitched. So these corners and everything else, this was hand stitched. So as you can see, there's a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and it came out beautifully. And you will see that so that was after making this robe.
Yeah.
After making this robe, it kind of got me fired up to be like, I want to make another one that was challenging, but I want to make another one. And so I made my daughter Kimora a robe. It was like a baby robe because she was a baby. And I found that the more and more I created, the happier I was. In sewing and regalia making is like my peaceful place. That's my personal setting where I'm happy. Is there any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, so did you, I mean, that's a huge piece of wool. Where did you find it?
Yeah.
In other words, you go to the fabric store and most fabrics are 45 inches wide. I can't imagine where you got such a large piece of wool.
So before Ben Franklin closed out, that's actually where I got all my material from. Ben Franklin.
Oh.
Why they closed down, I don't know. It's really a shame because I really liked shopping at Ben Franklin and I was kind of hoping to have Ben Franklin. They closed.
So when was that, this year or 2 years
No.
ago or?
I made my first robe in 2008.
Okay.
And then I made another robe for my best friend, Beth Otness. And her killer robe was huge. It took so much time, but it came out beautifully. And I got to work with Alice Titel and my Auntie Carol Brees on that robe. So it was really awesome. I really enjoyed it. And I found when I was making children's regalia, especially my daughters, like I said, I have 4 kids. I have 4 girls, no boys. I found that it just made me so happy. And my daughter, having her have that sense of pride in what I made her and sharing with her the history behind what I placed on her robe just made me feel like $1 million. I believe that was a really big prideful moment as a parent, as an artist, as an Indigenous person, because for a long time we couldn't practice our language, we couldn't practice our art form, we were forced to kind of be like, save the man, kill the Indian. You know, we had that slogan, and that wasn't just for our relatives in the lower 48s. It was for us up here as well. And so much trauma was, you know, passed down, and it still is kind of passed down. That's not only like physically, but it's also in our DNA. Um, Intergenerational trauma. It's a real thing. I mean, if you look at, you know, Holocaust survivors, Jewish people, African American, indigenous as well, you know, you'll see in our actual DNA, you can see it looks funky, and that's traumatic. I mean, even though I wasn't born yet. And so I feel like every time I make something, I'm healing a part of myself, and not only just myself, but my grandparents and my grandparents before that, you know, because our art form is a form of healing. It's a form of whole. I get a sense of whole, a whole feeling when I make something. And more importantly for my girls, I get that sense, and I want to pass on that sense of whole feeling to them.
Pam,
Yes?
do you have any of your girls' regalia with you that you could show?
I just finished my daughter's, she's about to be 4 months tomorrow, actually. And I finished a little vest for her because she's my baby. I packed it in my bag, so I was like stitching it down and working on a PowerPoint. And then, so like I said, I talked about evolving and kind of switching it up. You kind of have to adapt. And I did, in the sense of, when you do a traditional vest, you'll see at a lot of at a payoff parties, you'll see that they have, you know, the traditional stitch signs, and then, you know, you see some cute babies with some regalia, but it's like wool or it's felt. And then I'm thinking as a mom, like, man, I put all that work in there, and then they got berries everywhere, or they spill something. So when I make my girls like their vests, or sometimes their dance shirts, not usually their robes, but sometimes, I make it out of like washable material. I'm rethinking, like, okay, I want them to be culturally representative of who they are, but I also want it, if I'm going to put this time and this energy into it, I want to make sure it lasts a little bit longer. So I don't have to constantly be making new regalia. So when I made my daughter's, and also because she's a baby, and who wants to wake a sleeping baby up to get the arm out of the armholes, and then it's a mess. So this is my daughter Zoe's. She has Frida Kahlo, or I always get her name wrong. I'm just gonna call her Frida. You guys know who I'm talking about. So my daughter Zoe, she is part Mexican. Her grandpa is Mausoleum from Mexico, and her grandma's from LA. So I'm like, her grandma, she carries her grandma's name, Anna. So my daughter's name is Zoe Elizabeth Anna Bravo. And I was like, oh snap, we had to put the grandma in there. Grandma just loves Frida. So this is her vest, her little baby.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice.
And,
Wait, hold up the inside again, please. That is just so, no, other side. I love it.
Yeah, so it's reversible.
Yeah,
Great.
turn it around. Yeah, that's what I wanted to see.
Oh, you'll see it's a little coho. And you'll so yeah, Coho's got little teeth, so I just put little teeth in there. Plus she's teething, so I did her. Go ahead, Rosemary.
No, that's okay. I was just clearing my throat.
Okay. So I just made hers very simple, very basic. Um, but I also wanted to add like a little bit of pizzazz because that's just how I do it with my girls. So you can see I just put little abalone buttons, and I have this applique Wonder Under. I love it. Hand stitched down, and then you can see on the sides, I didn't sew the sides. You're probably thinking, why didn't you sew the sides? Well, if she's sleeping, let's say I have her in her Argo pack and she's sleeping, I can easily just untie the sides and pull it off. Boom, not waking a sleeping baby. I got that idea from one of my students, actually, because she didn't sew the sides, she just tied them. And her name was Mary Burkhart, I believe is her name. Miss Mary. I'm like, that is a brilliant idea. Love that idea. And so, and that's what I mean by like evolving. We always, I would have never thought of that, you know? And then fabric wise, always, finding new ways to kind of keep it traditional but have fun with it. That's kind of how I like to roll. Any other questions?
Well, plus you made it very practical.
Yeah, practical is key.
Yeah.
I find that when I'm practical about it, it lasts longer.
Sure.
And practical is key when you have babies, especially when you put a lot of time. People who can use a sewing machine and like sew this down with a sewing machine, they're wizards. I'm convinced of this. This is my theory. I will get there one day, but not today. So I hand stitch all of mine.
Good.
And so when I'm hand stitching, you're like, oh Jesus, this is, a lot. You put a lot of work and effort into it. Then, it becomes more meaningful. Not to say that people who sew with a sewing machine are any less, because no, they're just wizards. They're on a whole different level than me.
No, I love it that you have not only hand stitched it all, but you hand designed it too. You designed it. That's a wonderful little item.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, hopefully my daughter Zoe will like it, but it's whatever. She's a baby, so I kind of get to play around with her in that aspect. Like, I'm gonna make you this, and you're gonna wear it, and you're not gonna fight me on it. So, good to know. Also, I'm currently in the process, and shout out to Robbie Littlefield. Gonna teach Robbie. Always gotta love those cob wontons. Always love those eagle wolves. Because she gave me the material to make my 10-year-old, who's like a string bean, because as you can see in the PowerPoint, she was tall, and so she kind of had like this little gap. Actually, I have a picture of her right here. So I carry my babies with me wherever I go. You can see in this picture how she has like this giant gap right here. She's like, I need a new one. This is ridiculous. So I'm like, okay, fine. And she's like more than half my height. So I just basically measured myself. And so Robbie gave me the material to make her brand new robe. I'm gonna do something a little different with this one. You're probably thinking, why would you do something different? Because my daughters are not, I like to try and represent the different cultures they come from. My 3 older daughters are Haida as well. So I'm on the sides, I might, you'll see in some Haida design work or some of their robes, they have cutout of like beautiful form line that I've seen. And so my daughter wants that, so I'm like, okay. So that's gonna be my next project. how am I going to do it with, while they're at homeschool because of this pandemic? I'll figure it out. But even in my daughter Zoe's, regalia, her family comes from Mexico. I like to always incorporate both sides in my children's regalia, and I think it's really big. It's super important for me as an artist to incorporate that family unit. Is there any other questions, comments, concerns? Anything?
Pam, thank you very much for being our resident for this last few weeks. It's great. I wish I could have been around more, but I'm happy we were able to do this afternoon, and I got to see some of your work, and I'm glad I got to meet you. So come back again sometime.
As Jackie said, yeah, it's like sometimes do have some repeat offenders, and I'm like, I don't mind being a repeat offender here because I I enjoyed coming here and getting paid to just do artwork. Like, how amazing is that? I loved it, and I couldn't thank everybody and my students for giving me this opportunity. This is the first time ever doing an artist residency. I didn't think I was going to get it because I was like, man, I'm just like in the larvae stage of artistry and doing traditional art. I know I have so much more to learn, and I'm always up for that. I think it's my favorite moment. My all-time favorite moment was going into the archives. I had once somebody asked me, hold on, let me just pull it up real quick. Do you have a favorite moment or memory of your time at the Sheldon Jackson Museum during your residency? There's too many to count, but I think what got me the most was going back into the archives and holding these robes or these beaded pieces that were around for like 200 years. That was a lot. Jackie was like, you don't have to wear gloves. I did out of respect. But I found like later on that night, and as I put my kids to sleep and I had time to kind of reflect a little bit, I got a little choked up. And not because I was sad, but because how much history was literally in my hands and I got to hold it. And that was a lot. This was, these priceless items that we take for granted, have so much meaning behind them. I mean, not many people will understand that because we live in such a different world nowadays. And what we think is, an iPad is way cooler than something that was around 200 years ago. Was really amazing. That was probably my favorite moment. And being able to walk into the museum, knowing that I'm surrounded, I'm doing artwork, but I'm surrounded by history, my people's history. My ancestral history was really amazing. It was really powerful. That was my favorite time. I wish I could stay a little bit longer. Like, I could have stayed until 5. If I could make any recommendations, as far as like changing a little bit, I would recommend that artists get to stay a little bit longer. Like, I personally wanted to work through, I felt bad for Robert because he had to like tell me to take a lunch break, and I'd be like, oh crap, because I got so wrapped up in my artwork. Oh, another thing too, my favorite, thing that I got to do here, which was so amazing, was my daughters, all four of my girls, as I explained in my PowerPoint, I threw in their Tlingit names, right? Well, my girls, while I was here, got to be given their Tlingit names. They were chosen by Mary and Chuck Miller. I carry his grandma's name. So all of my girls were given names, and my dad, my auntie Cheryl Duncan, my cousin John Duncan, Florence Johnson, Heather Chandler, and Chuck Miller, and Naomi Miller, all we got to have witnesses to be there for this monumental moment. And shout out to Jared Galanin, that amazing artist, because I asked him last minute, and for an artist, this is last minute, so he is a miracle worker. I asked him, hey, can you customize 4 baby bracelets, 4 kid bracelets? He did. I don't know how he did it. I don't know what type of voodoo he did, but he did. And he's so amazing and such a humble human being and such an amazing artist. I can go on for days about artists that inspire me and that are amazing. I also treated myself to a bracelet. I was like, Mom, I need some new bling. So I did. I got myself a bracelet. Now, on the bracelets that I had him do for my girls and for me, my girls, it says, at his shop, he has these bracelets that say and Tlingit, I love you. And I was driving with my aunt, and I was like, oh man, I really want these for my girls. And my aunt, Sonia Smith, was like, wouldn't it be cool if their Tlingit names sprung inside of their bracelet? And I'm like, mind blown. I was so in love with it. I was like, it has to happen. And I called him up, and I was like, hey, my girls are having a naming ceremony at the Koho house, our clan house, the Kaishkahit. He said, can you please whip out like 4 little kid bracelets, please? He said, sure, no problem, paid him. And then I was like, I kind of want a bracelet for myself. Just put my Tlingit name in there. And he was like, okay, boom, did it, done. So when my girls were given names, we had the opposites, which was our eagles give those bracelets to my girls. And it was so amazing. I love, like I said, we are such a reciprocal culture where it balanced it out. And it was amazing. And I got choked up again because I'm just like a big crybaby about it. And Chuck was like, it's been years since anybody's been given names in this clan house. Years. He's like, it's been years. And so that was really monumental. It was so amazing. And just being able to like have my girls still be culturally involved, get their Tlingit names, because we're amongst the pandemic right now. And so we don't, usually this would be like payoff parties, or not payoff party, ku'ik season. And we're not having that because we're in the midst of a pandemic. And he said, give out names. We're probably not going to have ku'iks for a while. Give out names. And when it's around that time, then they'll, properly brought out, because the importance of names. I'm kind of going on a tangent here from what the knowledge that was passed on to me. Names are so important. Names carry a history behind them. And if our elders don't stay around forever, and they're like they're such a prize to have. It's important to pass on those names, so those names continue to live. And there's, again, a part of that cultural transmission that is being passed on to the next generation. And then it, the continuation of a name. And if we lose that, because our elders aren't around forever, and so they pass away, and then that knowledge, those names are gone because it wasn't passed on. So I think the importance of names are just as important as roads, right up there with our language. Yeah, that was my little tangent. Is there any other questions? Comments?
Well, I'll ask one more question. Are your girls learning to speak your language?
Yes. My oldest daughter, Kamora, her name is Kamora. She was in the STAR program, and she had to do her introduction. Granted, I had to work with her on it. That's the really crummy thing about it is we live in Anchorage, so we're not around our culture as much because it's more like Athabascan Yupik territory. But luckily, thank God for technology, so I'm able to ask Chuck or Dacia or anybody else who's super up there with our culture, hey, is this how I do this? Is this how I do this? That's really nice. Yeah, so I do teach my girls as much as I know, where we come from, who you're named after, what clan house we come from. And even when I'm sewing or I'm making something for them, I always give that importance to them. This is one day, all of this, what I make for you, what I share with you, try and hold on to it because I won't be around forever. And so again, keeping that cultural transmission alive and that knowledge alive. So, when the good Lord calls me home, the knowledge that was passed on from my Auntie Carol Brees and Amanda and various other artists can live on. And I think that's so huge. My goal in life, okay, so sometimes I want to be like Oprah rich, but I'm not there yet. But what would be better for me personally and a big accomplishment in my life is to have my things in a museum displayed temporarily, because I would like whatever I make my children to stay within the family, our family. But eventually to have my stuff displayed and being, my girls being like, my mom made that. And having my dad say, my daughter made that. This is what my daughter made me, or my mom, So things like that are really important to me. That would make me feel like the richest person alive, is to have my artwork displayed and eventually, my future descendants will be like, yeah, my grandma made that, my great grandma made that. This was fun. I'm not gonna lie, I was really nervous about this. So I appreciate you guys being patient with me, because I'm not the most tech savvy person ever.
Well, I enjoyed it totally, and you'll do a little bit better next time. I'm sure it was a challenge, but it was fun for me to watch, and I learned a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. So I appreciate you guys taking time out to be here and hang out with me. I know it's so much better in person. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a people person. I like being around people, but for everybody's health and safety, it's just, we'll take caution. I do have a mask. I just want to forewarn everybody. I do have a mask. I just can't wear it right now because I'm talking and there's really no one else here. So here at Sheldon Jackson, we are safe. We do follow procedures. Full disclosure. Is there anybody else? Okay, well, it is 3:14. So if that's it, I will lay on out or stick around, whatever. All right. Thank you. Bye. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with me. All right. Get a cheese.